Hello everyone, I'm Vikas from Small Academy and I welcome you to part 19 of Android note taking application development with Firebase. So in the last video, we implemented the login and registration and adding of new node, connecting the Firebase and all those things, and those were the essential features that were required in our application. Now from this video, I'll be implementing all the remaining features that we need in our application, like animation, and I also want to display the username of the particular user that is logged in to the navigation drawer header. Okay, and we'll implement other remaining things. So let's get started. So here today I'm going to implement this username and email field here in the navigation drawer, because I want to display the name of the particular user that is logged into our application and the email of the user. But if they are not logged into our application and using a temporary account, then I want to display the temporary user as a text here. Okay, so to display the data here, I'm not going to use Firestore. If you have watched one of my previous videos on Firebase authentication, then you may know that I always use separate Firebase collection for the users, and inside that user I always store the UID, username, email and the password of the user. But that is not essential every time, because we can directly use the profile section or profile features available in the Firestore. So we can directly use a method like get username, get user email, get phone number, things like that. But to be able to use that profile features of Firestore, we need to store the data separately when we are registering the new user. Okay, so let's go to the Android Studio here, and in the main activity, just open the main activity here. Now I want to get the data, so I have this drawer here, right? Okay, so this is the header view. So to be able to use these variables, I need to create the new view here, custom view. So just before this floating action button here, I'm going to create new view variable or object of the view class, and I'm gonna give the name as header view. Okay, and now we need to use the navigation view that we already have here. So if you remember, we have this nav view variable, and I can use that nav view to get the header. Okay, so nav view dot get header view, and here I need to pass the position. So currently in our application we have only one header, so we can pass 0. But if you have multiple headers, then you can use the other positions like 1 or 2. Okay, so now using this header view, now I can get the text view. Now I can get the text view and assign that assign value to this text view. Okay, so to be able to get this text view, I need to create the custom header view here or custom view here, and using this custom view I'll bind these XML resources to the text view variable. So I'm going to create new text view variable here, and first is for username. So I'm going to use header view dot find view by id dot id dot the name of ID of that particular field. So I don't remember the ID of that field, so I'm going to go to the resources here, and in the nav header, so this is the name. So it's the ID is user display name, and the ID of this email field is user display email. So I can use that IDs here to get that XML resources. So I'm going to use the ID of the user display email or name for the name, and similarly I'm going to create another text view here for user email, and use the same header view we have here and find view ID r.id user display email. Okay, now I can use this text view username and email to set the value to be displayed in that header. Okay, now let's go back to the registered Java, because to be able to assign the username and email to this username and email field, I need to store the username and email to somewhere, right? So we already have email, because while registering the user we have stored the email to the Firebase authentication, but we don't have username yet. If you remember, in activity register, we do have this full name field. We have not inserted the data of this full name to the database, so we don't actually have that data available here in the main activity when we try to assign the username to this header view. So to be able to do that, first I need to save the data of the particular user in the Firebase authentication user profile object. So in that way, we don't need to create this separate Firestore collections to save the details of the particular user. All right, so to be able to do that, I'm going to go back to the register here, and once we are successfully registered any user here, or once we successfully link the temporary user with the real user, I'm going to store the data of that particular user in the user profile object so that we can access that in the main activity. Okay, so now we have this username field here. All right, so I'm going to use that username field to get the username of the particular user. So here, first I need to create the Firebase user. So I'm going to create Firebase user. Let's say user. We can use fauth to get the current user. All right, so now this is the user that is successfully registered or linked their account with the real account. Now I want to save the username of that user to the Firebase authentication profile object. So now to be able to save the username of the particular user into the Firebase authentication user profile object, I need to create the new user profile change request here. So I'm going to create new user profile change request, new user profile change request, and we're going to use builder to add the data. Okay, so I'm going to remove this bracket here, dot builder. Now we can set the username of the particular user. So I can use set display name, and here I'm going to use username to store the data, as well as it also provide other methods like set photo URI. So we can use this set photo URI to actually store the user's profile image URL, and we can display that in the header view as well. So we don't actually need to store that in the Firebase collection or Firestore collection. So it is much easier to create the profile of the particular user if a user has only username, email, and a profile picture. Okay, now we are not going to do that here. So instead of calling this set photo URI, I'm just going to call build, and it's going to build this change request. And after that, we need to use this user. We need to use the user object to save the change request. So I'm going to use user object, and I'm going to update the profile. So I can use the update profile of this Firebase user, and here I need to pass the change request that I have just created. So request is our change request. So this means every time when a user link their account to a real Firebase account, we are also going to save this username to the user profile object, and so that we can access that here in the main activity. Okay, so now I can come back here. I can use user email dot set text to set the email of the particular user. Now I need to get the Firebase user that is currently logged in. Okay, so let me go back to the top here and see if I have the user already. So I do have the user here, so I can use that user object to get the data of that particular user. So user dot get email. Okay, so it's going to extract the email. So email is already saved in the user profile object at the time of the creating new account, and as well as now we have saved the username as well in the user profile object. We can use the get username method here. So I'm gonna use the username dot set text, and here I can use user object dot get display name. Similarly, if you have given the phone number, you can get the phone number as well. And if you want to get the URI of the profile URL of the profile picture of the particular user, you can use the get photo URI method as well. Okay, I'm going to create separate video on creating a profile through the user profile object, so watch out for that in the future. So for now, we have successfully set the username and email in our header view. So but since the user that is currently logged in my phone is created before I created this change request here, so it's going to display null and it's only going to display the email. So let's see how it's going to look like in my phone. Okay, let's run this application. Okay, the app is running now, and if I open this drawer now, it says that it is not displaying my username because I have not given any username, but it is displaying my email here, so get email. Okay, so but what I want to do here is, if the user is temporary user, then I want to set this email and password field to the temporary user. So I only want to display one field here that says temporary user. Okay, so to do that, I need to set some logic here in the main activity. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so to be able to identify if the user is anonymous or not, we already have the method called isAnonymous, right? So I can use the same method using the user object, user dot isAnonymous. If the user is anonymous, then we can't display any data. All right, we don't have any email or any display name, so we'll just display the temporary user. So I'm gonna add temporary user. Okay, and I want to hide this user email field. So user email dot set visibility and gone. All right, so it's going to hide that user email field. Otherwise, in other case, that means if user is not anonymous, then we'll just get the email and get the display name. All right, so that's how we're going to display or identify if the user is anonymous and display the temporary user. Otherwise, we'll display the email and the display name. So I'm going to run this application and I'm going to log out from my app and show you guys if it is displaying this temporary user or not. And after that, I'll create the another user and show you guys if that is displaying the username and the email correctly or not. All right, so let's do that. So app is running now. Let's see, it is installing in the phone. Just wait a second. Okay, the app is running. Now we are in the main activity. I only have my username, my only email is displayed here. So I'm gonna log out from this application. So to log out, I can go to the logout and click on this, and it's going to create the new temporary user as we have implemented the logic. Now if I open this header, it says the temporary user. All right, so now I want to create the new user here. So to first I will create the new temporary node and save it. Now we have two temporary nodes. I want to connect new account to this temporary user. So click on sync node, and it's going to warn us if we are sure or not. So since I don't want to log into the existing user, so I'm going to create save nodes because I want to create new account. Now I'm going to give my name, or I'll just give the small academy as the name. And I'm going to use the small academy email and give some password. Now I want to sync this node. Click on sync node or sync now, and it says the node are synced. Now if I open this, it should display my name here, but it is not displaying anything right now. So we'll go and debug what happens here. So let's go and debug what is happening, why it is not displaying our username. Okay, so I just found out that it is a bug in the Firebase user profile object, that it will not display the first time that we update the request, the profile change request. So what I need to do is, once the user is registered here, I can start the main activity in the freshly, or I can refresh the main activity so that it will display the data. So here in our app, currently it is not displaying anything. All right. So now if I close this application and open it again, it's actually going to display the data or the username. Okay. So I'm going to close this application and open it again. Okay. Now we have these nodes here. Now if I open this, it's going to display the username. So to be able to display the username for the first time, so we don't want user to see this blank username here, only their email. So what I want to do is I will display start the new activity once the user profile is updated here. So I'll start the new activity and with new intent this, and I'm going to start the main activity. Okay. So here I need to give the get application context because we are inside the inner method here, inner class. So okay. Now, so once the user profile is updated, we are going to restart our main activity so that it can display the username. Okay. Let's get into the video, and here today we'll implement the animation each time when we open the new activity. All right, so it is pretty simple. We don't need to do anything extra. We just need to create some animation, and we'll override the intent each time when we start the new activity. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, now to be able to use the animation while opening the new activity, we need to have the animation that we need. So to create the animation, I'm going to create the new layout resource file, resource file, drawable resource file here in the drawable folder. So right click on that, create new drawable folder. Now I'm going to give the name as slide up. We're going to create two animation file. One is slide up and slide down. So this one is slide up. Click on OK. And it's going to create that file for us. And similarly, I'm going to need another drawable resource file for slide down. Okay, now I'm going to click on OK, and these are the files we need. So actually, let me close all these files. We don't need it now. Okay, so let's go to the slide off, and here I'm going to add the few line of code that will hide the activity when they are opening it, and they are just going to give you the feel of they are sliding up or coming from the left or right. Okay, so it's going to hide the initial opening of the register activity, and it's going to display that after a certain period of time, so that you'll have the feel of it is sliding up or sliding down or sliding from the left or right or something like that. All right. So to be able to do that, we need to have some line of code. So I have the source code here. So I'm going to copy this. We're going to use translate properties of XML. So we are translating the activity from X delta, that is -1 to 0. Okay. So we'll see that how it's going to display once we run this application. So paste it here in the slide up. Okay. It says that element set must be declared, and it should be in anim folder or animation folder. So actually I made a mistake. We actually need to create this file inside the animation folder. So I'm going to create new directory here called animation or anim. So okay, that is the folder we need. Now inside this, I'm going to drag and drop the file we just created. So these are two files. I'm going to drag and drop into the animation folder. Okay. And that should fix this error. Yeah. Now similarly in the slide down, I'm going to copy and paste the code that I have. You can get this code in the from the GitHub. So copy this and paste it here. So this is the slide up actually. So I'm gonna paste this one here, and from this slide down I'm going to copy this. You can see the change that we have just changes this X delta here in the slide up and slide down. So in the slide down, I'm going to go here and paste it. All right. So this is the two animation we need. Okay, now we're going to use override intent to display this animation while we start the new activity. So let's go back to the main activity, or actually in the register activity where we have started our first activity. So now you need to go and find all the start activity method and paste this code that I'm going to write here. Okay, write this code, because if you want to display the animation, you need to write this code. So now we're going to override the intent. Okay, override pending transition, and here I'm going to call the animation file that we have created. So that is slide up, and the another one is slide down. You can customize these according to your need, because I'm just going to do here as a randomly, because I don't know much about animation in Android Studio. I'm still learning it. But if you guys know what, if you guys want to add another type of animation, you can just Google it and you can find the source code there. Okay, so slide down like that. So now we need to add these things in all the part. Okay, and finish it if you don't want user to come back. Okay, now this two line of code you need to add everywhere where you want to display that animation. I'm going to go to the main activity and find some places where I have this start activity here as well. Maybe here I don't want to display this finish, so I'm just going to not add that one. So here as well, here as well. Okay, so you get the point. You need to replace all the places where you want to display the animation. Okay, now let's run this application and see if this is working. So let's run this. Okay, the app is running now. Let me open it. Now if I click on this, it should display the animation. Yes, like that. If I close, it's not going to display anything right now, and it is finishing it. So let me go back to the place where I have added that one. So in the main activity, I don't want to close that. I want it to go back to the main activity. So maybe somewhere I have added the finish, which I should not have. Okay, you just don't add the finish where you don't want the activity to close. Yeah, you get the point. So this is how we implement our application. This is how we create these fire nodes. I know I may have forgot to implement it, the thing that I needed to implement, but I think everything else is working fine. Okay, so I found one bug here. I tried to delete this node, but it's not deleting it, and I found why. Because at the time when we created the new collections with the users, specific collections, we changed the path here. So you need to change this collection path. So first it was users, I think. So users, I don't know, I need to check it. So let me go to the edit node here, edit node, and I'm going to copy this path from here and go back to the main activity and replace this. Okay, so this is the path we need. Collection nodes, inside that we have user specific documents, and inside that we have my nodes and the document that we actually want to delete. So now I'll run this and we should be able to delete the node. Let's see. Okay, the app is running. Now I'm going to delete one of this node, and yes, it is deleting it. Okay guys, so we may have created a few bugs inside this application. So if you find those bugs, report that to our GitHub repository, or you just take the screenshot and post that in the group. I'll try to fix it and release the updates. But for now, this is the end of this series, and as I said, I'll create another video series on how to upload the Android application to the Google Play Store. So because this series is already longer than I expected, so I'm going to end it here. So I hope you learned something in this series, and I will see you in the next video series. Let me know in the comment if you have any questions or the problems or error that you want me to solve, and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next video series.